Well, today we're going to talk about the secret of Bruce Lee's reflex lag. Now, I learnt it in 1970 from Jessie Glover and tested it and looked at it ever since. But I can't find any sort of formal teachings that Lee did. But it is a game changer. If you're in any martial art, it will improve it. If you don't do martial arts and you learn it, it can keep you safe. So what's it all about? If somebody attacks you, punches, you've got to first perceive the attack, then work out how you're going to block it, what we're going to do. And there's a lag. It's rather precise. If somebody is, you can touch them on the shoulder, you're within that reflex lag. So if you're within the reflex lag, there's no way you can stop a punch because you can't think of and perceive it in time. Now, there's some caveats to this. Don't just take my word for it. Try it yourself. Get somebody to put the hands there and you stand in front of them and you punch and snap back. All they have to do is catch your hands, and unless you go they won't even have a chance to move their hands. So if you're in that lag there, the first person to attack, that attack's almost certainly going to get through. And it doesn't mean it's going to be the end of the fight, but if he sticks his fingers in your eyes or in your throat, it could well be. And it's not quite as simple as that. If you are outside the lag and you attack, so if it was here and then step forward and punched, you could almost certainly stop that one, or it has a very good chance of stopping it. But it's rather precise. If I step forward and punch, you should be able to stop it. But if I step forward and then punch, you won't. It's when you start the actual attack that the lag occurs. So there's quite a difference there of somebody stepping in and punching, or stepping in and then punching, because then punching from inside that lag. There's some other sort of strange ones with it as well. If you're in the just outside the reflex lag and you're sort of a Wing Chun man or whatever and got your hands there, then they can be within the lag. So your body could be outside the lag, but your arms can't. Or same as if you're a boxer and you've got this lead hand, or you're jabbing, those will be within the lag. So my style makes use of that, because the first defence is always, if something comes in there, bang, hit the arm, punch the arm, take that arm out first. And I can guarantee it's pretty much the same for everybody. And you watch Lee in his demonstrations when he says nobody can stop my punch, he jumps in, but he doesn't start the punch until he's within that lag. And it's very crucial that if you're going to attack or defend. So if you're in the street, because we're talking self-defense here, not MMA or anything, if somebody's here, you're liable to get hit. So if you're in there, your best chance is to strike first. if you're outside there, you let them attack first, because if they're coming from outside, you're almost certainly going to be able to stop it. That also works as well, the fact that if someone comes in to attack you, the first thing that'll be in the lag is the lead foot. So if you're out there and you come in to attack me, the first thing I'm going to hit is your front leg, because that's going to get here before your hands can. And if you're coming in, there's virtually no way, once that foot's in that lag, of stopping it. So it's sort of a crucial thing. The problem with a lot of it is perception, that you can't, you know, if somebody's going, then you're probably going to stop it anyway, but it's absolutely critical that you understand, never attack somebody from outside the leg. Now the thing with sort of Wing Chun is you stand front on, two hands, so you can hit with either hand. And a lot of people, of course, will be thinking of Bruce Lee and stand like this. And you've got to remember with that this may be within the lag and this one out of the lag. So when you come to punch with that one, that's liable to be stopped because you're coming from outside the lag. So if you're in that stance, and you've got to turn until you're in the lag and then punch. If you're there and you punch, it's liable to be stopped. There, turn, now you're within the lag, and then start the attack. So it's strange how Lee sort of changed from, I mean, the big thing of Wing Chun was that you've got your two hands and you can hit with both of them and do everything with both hands. If you're this side, you're limited to what you can do. It's sort of proven, it was the 70s when I learned it, so for something like 60 years I've tested it, and it's sort of perfect for everybody. Kicks about up to groin level, the same applies. Just above that, perhaps if you do taekwondo and you're very fit and high kick, but within the lag it's very dodgy, because you're within the lag and got your one leg up and you can't really stop the other. And we just want to move on to some other sort of principles that people don't sort of understand. A couple of points, and it's been the same for centuries. A lot sort of punch and then and that is a push. To explain it better, if you've got a car coming along, driving along, and if something smacks into the side of it, what happens? That collapses because it's designed to. If there's any force left, it then pushes. It's the same if you do that and that. The force is transmitted on that contact. Anything after that, it becomes a push. And the other point about it is that 99% of martial arts if you're tensing, you're losing 50% of speed and 50% of power, because you've got two muscles, and scientific knowledge, they're both working against each other. So the total relaxation, it's only at that point when you actually whack something that it's going to count. And another thing that's not very often understood is Newton's third law of motion, that every forward motion must have an equal and opposite backward motion. So if you're going to hit somebody, and they're moving backwards, say I can produce £300 and they're moving backwards, because there's not much resistance, you're not going to be able to get £300. Same as if he's moving that way or up or down. If he's coming towards you, you've got that resistance. As an example, if you take a cloth, there's virtually no resistance on that, and if I hit that, I'm not going to get £300, I'm not going to get a couple of ounces because there's absolutely no resistance. So it's very important that you've got the resistance when you actually strike. So it's a lot more effective to be relaxed and do it and snap back. The difference being, if you hit slow and turn, the body sort of takes the impact and then gets pushed. If you, the force is transmitted very quickly and it goes internally because you're not then pushing back. If you're sort of hitting somebody like that and then doing that, chances are they're going to go back, so then you've got to chase after them. If you do that, it's a totally different thing. The big difference is, if you look at some of my other videos, I show you how to do the floating punch. So the floating punch, you hit like that with the bottom knuckles, and you actually see what's happening there. You're actually a bit like an uppercut in a way. You're punching up. So even if it's moving to the side, it's a more powerful punch because you're actually trying to lift the whole body because it's going up. So it reduces this loss of force. Now, quite what's happened with Wing Chun, because I started in the 50s, and the key thing with Wing Chun was you punch from the centre line to there, and you had that triangle there because that's the strongest junction of the body. Now they all seem to be now doing it out here. I know there's different styles of Wing Chun, but nearly everybody seems to be doing it like this. Now the key thing of that is, of course, if I do that, all this is open. And also you're fighting at long range, the same as karate and every other martial art. Whereas if you're coming in and fighting like that, it's quicker, obviously, because you're only going 6 inches. And other arts are not used to that infighting, so that's a quite important thing, and why everybody started doing this. Because the key thing with that is, you've got 2 hands out, empty there, and as you come over, you've always got these 2 hands out. So if somebody comes round and they're going to catch one of the hands, and you're going to go over. And the old principle of give me a fulcrum big enough and I'll move the earth. If you've got your hand stuck out like that, anything that happens can affect your whole balance. Which another point about doing that, if you're relaxed to do the punch and somebody hits that arm, the arm is separate from the body, so you can smack that and it doesn't affect your structure. If you're tense, then your whole body is one solid unit and you've gone. So it's another sort of important point to consider on that. The other thing is, with your hands out there and you're open, I mean, sometimes it might be necessary, but I came up with a solution, and it turns out that Bruce Lee had come up with the same solution, because normally they do this, and you leave all this open. But if you change it slightly and punch down, it clears the gates as you do it. So it's slightly slower, but James DeMille and Bruce Lee found that a better effective way of doing the punch, because sometimes you may have to sort of do a full range punch. I mean, I'm 77 in a few weeks. Now, had Bruce Lee been alive, he would have had to change like I've had to change. That when I was young, now you're old and you actually relax. Because one of the things about the on guard position, if you take Wing Chun as an example, you're in that position, somebody attacks you, you've got to work out, how am I going to block them? Is it block that way? What I'm going to... Seagal got the answer. He stands with his hands here on the centre line. Now, the big advantage of that is your brain doesn't have to think. Slightest movement of the opponent, you come up the centre line and you're going to make contact with their arms, and then you do whatever you want to do because you've got contact with their arms. If you find it's this arm, you can then hit with that, or vice versa, or you can knock both hands down, and so it doesn't leave you open to having this hand smacked. So that's quite a step forward. You've got to be relaxed for all this. The other fault of all martial arts, virtually, if you push a car, it's hard to get a car going. Once you've got it going, then it's pretty easy to keep pushing it. But what you're doing in almost every martial art, you do a block and stop. So then you've got to start pushing the car again to do something. So any block, I'm using the word loosely, it should be a continuous movement, it shouldn't stop. So you're coming up all in one movement, not and then try and get going again. Blocking we're not in favour of, and it depends how you define a block. I have done it on another video that you've got basically three forces. You've got horizontal, anything going horizontal, vertical, or a circle. So if they're punching horizontally, and most attacks are horizontal, and you're blocking horizontal, then it's force against force. And Lee found that Tanzao going that way, when he come again across big people, it's force against force, and he was losing. And one of the things we do is with relaxation, and to quickly explain it, if you apply force, think of water flowing down here and it's flowing out. Now say for example I grab somebody's hand, the force is coming down here, and if I'm tense it stops there, because it's, think of it as a river, it's come to a dam and it can't go any further. But if I'm tense, any movement I make, this person can feel it. But if I'm relaxed, they can't feel it. Now the water's coming down. Now if I simply, it depends on, I've got to do the opposite of this. So if this is horizontal, I've got to go vertical and so forth. So if this is vertical and I then do that, I'm not putting any pressure behind them, I'm still relaxed. But what happens to the water is the water comes down here, blocks, and then all of a sudden you say, oh, there's a river open there, I'm going that way. So you can then totally influence their force and take control of it. I did it on another video that if you get two people, put your hand out there, the other person puts their hands and you both push, the strongest will always win because it's force against force. But if this person's the strong one, he's pushing that way, instead of pushing back, you push up, the same thing happens. His force hits this block here, and then when you start going and you push up, you think, oh, this water, oh, I can go up that way now. And you can, without too much practice, get it so he pushes and then you go up. And you find you're trapped, you can't sort of let go. That was something that Jessie Glover used. If somebody's punching, I've modified it a bit, but if you use Tanzo, it's force against force. So we're using vertical force, we're going up, making contact, and it's got to contact down quite quick. Twist, so there's no actual, that means there's no force against force because it's spiraling, and then go back, so it'll be coming back here. And Jessie Glover shows that quite a lot, that it actually works and the person then goes back because it's following this force and it's taking you back. So by using that you can then utilise the opponent. He's totally off balance on a goner, and Jessie used it a lot with a punch that he'd come in with a punch. If your arm was out there, he'd come in with the punch against your arm and do the same thing, and your body would go back. So that's quite an interesting concept, and it's one that if you're young you probably don't think of it, but as you get older you have to relax more because you haven't got the same muscular strength you had. And I think Lee would have found the same. And it's much more energy efficient because you're not knackering yourself because you're relaxed. And again, it sort of comes onto the reflex lag. If they're coming in and you can get it. But it's such an important thing, the reflex lag, and you watch people. I'm trying to think of an example that Bruce did, but the one you can't block my punch, he did it a lot, but quite a few other things. If you watch him actually fighting, very often you'll see that he'll jump in and he doesn't start the attack until he's within the reflex lag. If you're attacking, no matter how fast you are, you've always got that danger that as you move into the reflex, you're outside, and as you move in, bang, somebody takes out your lead foot or your lead hand. If you know how to do the 1-inch punch, Lee did it and he used to jump forward and push, because if he went and the fellow dropped on the floor, it wasn't very good in the demo, was it? And the fellow wasn't very happy about it. So he did it and did the push. But if you actually do it, it doesn't have to be an inch, you can be touching. The best way to describe it, if you're sitting minding your own business and all of a sudden, you know how your whole body for a split second tenses. You've got to be relaxed to start with, because if you're like this, you need to totally relax. But then you can pulse, so you can be touching somebody and it's just like the 1-inch punch. And it comes originally from Bagua Chang, and they do it very much that, and they stamp down, just showing slow motion there, they stamp down, because that, to get the force, you've got to have that equal and opposite reactions. So there's stamping down and tension all the body. And if you see any of the Bagua Chang, you can be sort of stood here and you'll go flying across the room. But that does bring in a totally new concept, that instead of just blocking, so where it is you'd block, now we can, because we're horizontal so we're going up, relaxed. Especially if they're tense, it's totally. And I have actually done that with somebody that attacked me, and he was very tense, and doing that broke his arm. So it's that powerful. So it's a new sort of concept altogether. Once you've sort of mastered it, you can do it with any attack of any size, sort of description. So it's sort of a major breakthrough, that you're no longer just blocking, because blocking is a stupid idea, isn't it? Somebody attacks, you block and you block and you block, and then you get through. So totally relaxed, which means you're faster anyway. And then and it can be absolutely devastating, because your arm's out and then the next hand's coming to it, you're coming straight into it as well. But it can totally destroy your balance. So that's a new concept in my art, and it's continuously changing. This is why people are looking at JKD, and that was Bruce Lee years ago. And if you'd lived another 2 years, it would have changed. And if you'd lived 4 years, it would have changed. And it was Bruce Lee, and he's got ability that I haven't got, and I've got abilities that he hasn't got, and you've got abilities, and this person's got abilities. So you can't sort of still try and copy what Bruce Lee did 20 odd years ago and think it's still right, because everything's moved on since then. And of course the films are well, because all the kung fu films, everybody goes, yeah. And they put, so they're sort of giving a wrong impression to the whole thing. Relaxed, you can't detect it, because there's no. It's quite easy if somebody's tense, and it's quite easy to see a punch coming. But if they're totally, you just lost your eyes then. And it's this new concept of being totally relaxed. And why people still, and that's my face, nothing's happening, I'm not hurting, I'm not hurting, I'm not hurting, I'm not hurting. It's only then that it actually hurts. So it's just a total waste of energy, and why people still do it, God only knows. But I've no doubt, as things move on, that even my art, it changes from month to month. If I find something better, or it doesn't work and I have to tweak it a bit here or tweak it a bit there. So I explain to people to stop trying to emulate Bruce Lee. You are who you are. You probably haven't got his abilities. So just experiment yourself and keep it scientific. My system, because for 60 years I've been doing it, it's all science based. So that doesn't mean you're always going to win, but it gives any person the best chance of their body type and abilities if you're using science. Because obviously if you're here and you're punching there 6 inches, that's going to be quicker than going Aah! And that's just pure science. If you're going 6 inches, it's just almost impossible. Once you're in and you've got an opening, it's almost unstoppable, that punch. And so many arts you see as well, that they block and then block Now if you're blocking somebody, if you block there, you're inside his defence, so no block should stop there. He should be there and straight in, because you're inside his defence. He's like this and you've got inside his defence. You've been trying for half an hour to get inside his defence, and now you're in, and it's almost, if you block somebody there, it's almost impossible to stop that attack. So I think we'll leave it at that, because I don't want to make the video too long, because everybody goes sleep. But try the reflex lag yourself and you'll find it makes a big difference. You can't really overcome it. The only way to overcome it is like in Wing Chun, you've got the chi sao, because then you're with touch. So if you're touching, then you've got different perspective on it. That you can, especially if they're tense, you can feel any movement. And the only other way, it doesn't really work 100%. But Tai Chi very often their first and the only move is to, so they've only got that one decision to make, and it's the same as that. You've only got one decision. Other than that, if any martial art, you've got to think, oh, I'm going to block this way, I'm going to block that way, I'm going to do this. It's that. Even though your mind's a very fast computer, it's still got to run through, well, I'll block this way, I'll block that way, and bang, so that was too late. But that one simple decision up, you're going to be in touch with the hands. Well, thank you for watching, and please subscribe, because I make a lot of these videos, and at 77 it's a struggle financially to do all these videos, and until I get some more subscribers I can't make any money out of YouTube. And I do so local ones in Crewe where I live. I do graveyards, because I've been taking photos of graveyards for Google, and 123 million people have seen my pictures. And we do various other things as well.